Hi everyone, welcome back to the Web3 channel. My name is Zach. In this video, we're going to be looking at some really interesting predictions from Cathie Wood. We're going to be looking at Anthony Pompliano's take on some of her recent findings and studies, what she thinks regarding ARK Invest, where of course cryptocurrencies can lead to over the next decade. Let's get into it. Cathie Wood's ARK Invest expects Ether to soar over 7,000% and hit a 20 trillion market cap. We're going to be looking at this and of course Bitcoin as well. Let's go through it. ARK Invest is forecasting Ether will hit a $20 trillion market cap by 2030. At that target, Ether would be priced around $170,000 to $180,000 per coin. ARK Invest also predicting the price for single Bitcoin could of course reach over $1 million by 2030, where we'll be going over that very soon in this video. Stay tuned and let's go through it. Even as crypto markets face turbulence, Cathie Wood's ARK Invest is making a bullish call on the price of Ether in a new report this week. The second largest cryptocurrency, according to ARK Invest, will meet or surpass a $20 trillion market capitalization by 2030. Each coin would be priced, trying to get this in the best format possible for you to read with me, based on its current price of about 2.48k USD. Ether would have to jump around 7,200% to meet the firm's target. The ETF manager said Ethereum could displace many traditional financial services as DeFi gains traction, laying the groundwork for Ether, Ethereum's native token, of course, to compete as a global currency. As financial services move on-chain, decentralized networks are likely to take share from existing financial intermediaries. The report said ARK Invest predicts Ether will be a primary beneficiary of this shift. Personally, for my own opinion, and of course this is not financial advice, you should always do your own research, but my guess is that if things continue as they are right now, with Ether being such a monumentally important part of the blockchain ecosystem, especially when it comes, of course, when it comes to NFTs, etc., we will be seeing some really interesting price action there. Reports also said the price of a single Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. We'll be looking at that article very soon in this video again, as investors remain focused on its long-term value. ARK Invest forecasts for both Ether and Bitcoin are high. Ether has sunk more than 22% over the last week and is well off its record near 5,000 USD in November. Bitcoin similarly has fallen more than 50% since its November all-time high of 69k USD. JP Morgan said the recent decline in Bitcoin makes it even a 150k long-term target less likely. The new year has pummeled the crypto market after massive gains in 2021. Digital assets have mirrored technology stocks, all of which have traded in the red for most of this month. And of course, what we're looking at here is measurement of last week over the last month, and what of course ARK Invest's whole sort of prediction here is we're looking over a decade, right? As the Federal Reserve continues to signal its hawkish stance for 2022, analysts expect crypto to remain under pressure. And of course, that is a very true point and something that we are looking at a lot on this channel on Web3. Of course, when I say we're looking at a decade from now, technically it's 8 years, so not quite a decade yet, but definitely close to it. Then let's have a look at Cathie Wood regarding Bitcoin before we have a look at Anthony Pompliano's take on everything happening here. I would love it if we could actually read this properly. There we go. Cathie Wood's ARK Invest says the price of a single Bitcoin could top 1 million in just another 8 years. Bitcoin could top 1 million per coin by 2030. Network upgrades, and to be very clear before I go further, I want to again stamp it down, hammer it down, that nothing on the channel is ever because of financial advice. Always do your own research. But with that being said, continuing onwards, network upgrades and growing adoption by countries and institutional factors that can help it flourish, the firm's research showed Bitcoin mining will encourage and generate cleaner solutions. Let's go through it. Famed stock picker Cathie Wood's ARK Invest have another bold prediction for where Bitcoin is headed, even as the price struggles at multi-month lows. Bitcoin's price could exceed 1 million by 2030 as investors remain focused on its long-term value, according to the investment firm. The top cryptocurrency's market capitalization is still only a fraction of total global asset values and is likely to scale as other countries follow El Salvador in adopting it as legal tender. ARK analyst Yassine Almandra, sorry for getting the name wrong if I have, wrote in the firm's Big Ideas report published Tuesday. According to our estimates, the price of one Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. It has taken a bit of a beating in the recent few days, sinking to a 6-month low, of course, which we have spoken about. It was trading at 37.9k USD in European morning trading on Tuesday and is down 18% so far in January, according to CoinGecko data. According to ARK's research, information on blockchain networks shows at least 13.5 million Bitcoins haven't been moved in more than 155 days, suggesting a long-term holding behavior pattern. Moreover, Bitcoin's annual settlement volume has surpassed Visa's, with more than $13.1 trillion of value being settled on the network in 2021. Other developments that could encourage wider use of Bitcoin are the Taproot upgrade, the first change to its protocol since July 2017, and the traction speed boosting Lightning Network ARK said. Bitcoin attraction among institutions is also broadening among players, including Grayscale, Block.one, MicroStrategy, of course, Michael Saylor, and Tesla after the arrival of more regulated products and corporate adoption, which, of course, we're looking at as well with, what's his name? Kevin O'Leary, of course, talking about ESG compliance and institutions essentially approaching the crypto space as it becomes more favorable. 8% of Bitcoin circulating supply is now held by exchange-traded products, corporations, and nation states. According to the analyst, separately, the investment firm believes that the conversation on Bitcoin's negative environment impact seems ill-informed. Bitcoin mining, the system that adds new coins to the blockchain, it could actually benefit the energy industry as it incentivizes cleaner solutions. And of course, I think this is roughly as well where Kevin O'Leary has moved towards as well. Bitcoin mining machines around the world reportedly consume as much power per year as Bangladesh, a country of over 160 million people. This apparent toll on sustainability has often stirred debate about owning and trading cryptocurrencies. Billionaire Bill Gates, an outspoken climate change advocate, has criticized Bitcoin's environmental impact, saying it uses more electricity per transaction than any other method known to mankind. But to ARK's El Mandra, Bitcoin is the asset most compatible with ESG norms. Our research suggests that Bitcoin has the potential to transform monetary history by providing financial freedom and empowerment in a fair, global, and distributed way. In September, Cathie Wood predicted Bitcoin will soar to 500,000 in 5 years. She also touted to a 60 to 40 Bitcoin to Ether crypto portfolio. Okay, moving on from this, let's have a look at Anthony Pompliano going over, of course, the report that ARK Invest put out.
What they are showing is that the Bitcoin...
And to be very clear, before we go further, I feel like I need to say it constantly on this channel because nothing in this video or any videos on the channel is ever to be considered financial advice. Do your own research. With that said, let's get into this.
Market capitalization ends up being, by the end of 2030, $28.5 trillion, $28.5 trillion. Today, that would be almost 28x from where it is at the moment. And of course, if you go ahead and you start to break down what exactly adds up to that $28.5 trillion. They think the remittance network, the emerging market currency, the economic settlement layer, the nation state treasury, the seizure-resistant asset, the institutional investment, the corporate treasury, and the digital gold. You add all of that up, they think that it can get to $28.5 trillion. That would be the equivalent of $1.36 million per Bitcoin. Now, if you go ahead and you look at the global asset values, you can see that Bitcoin has significant appreciation potential. Ultimately, Bitcoin is very, very small. It is only $1.1 trillion or so. Gold's $10 trillion. Global equities, $106 trillion. Global M2 supply, $123 trillion. Global bonds, $124 trillion. And global real estate sits at $220 trillion. So Bitcoin going from 1.1 to 28.5, so 25.9x, that would only be about double, a little bit more than double gold. It wouldn't even get you anywhere near global equities. If we then go ahead and look at Bitcoin's market participants, and as they are maturing and focusing on the long term, you can see that Bitcoin's aggregate cost basis hit a new record high in 2021. Bitcoin's market...
Before we go further, can I just say now that this, and again, not financial advice, always doing research, but what I'm hearing right now just again continues to stamp down the point of being early right now. Obviously, I'm not saying, well, and I'm not saying in general that any returns are going to be made on this, but what I will say is that, you know, there's a lot of sentiment around you got in too late or it is too late or whatever. And it depends on what you're looking for, right? And that's all based on your own research, but it seems so early.
Market capitalization grew by 96% in 2021, and its realized cap grew by 168%. Also, the long-term holder base hit an all-time high in 2021 as well. Those long-term holders hold about 13.5 million Bitcoin, with more than 500,000 addresses exhibiting long-term holding behavior. And then if we go ahead and we look and the actual market share, where is it stealing market share from? Well, that cumulative transfer value increased by 463% in 2021. Bitcoin's annual settlement volume surpassed Visa's payment volume. That is very important to understand here, my friends, is that Bitcoin's annual settlement volume has surpassed Visa's payment volumes. When you start to look at that, you can start to understand that regardless of what you hear in the mainstream media, regardless of what your friend, your mom, your cousin, or your neighbor told you, Bitcoin is used by lots of people around the world. It's used on an actual transaction settlement basis more than Visa is, which is an important piece to understand. And then ultimately, could Bitcoin continue to scale in response to technological breakthroughs? Cathie Wood, Yassine, and ARK, they believe that it absolutely can. There's the successful soft fork activation. There's the layer 2 growth and Bitcoin denominated DeFi, all things that continue to lead to more and more adoption, which also increases the scalability as these technologies come to fruition. And then if we go ahead and we look at the institutional holders, ladies and gentlemen, they come in and they're coming fast and furious. That institutional holder base appears to be broadening after the launch of more regulated products and adoption by corporations and nation states. You can see that Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust holds about 654,000 Bitcoin. You can see Block One and MicroStrategy both hold between 120 and 140,000 Bitcoin. You can see the CoinShares XBT provider. They've got about 48,000 Bitcoin, all the way down to Galaxy Digital and their ETP. They have 16,400 Bitcoin. Ultimately, what we are watching is institutions across the market, whether they're large financial institutions, whether they're publicly traded companies, or they are providing some sort of product to their customers, continue to adopt Bitcoin in a very real way.
The question here as well is, how will this list change over the next decade, even over the next few years? And also, of course, we're looking at publicly. What about the privately disclosed?
Hey, on top of that, lastly, El Salvador is the first nation state, on top of the institutional adoption, first nation state to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. In El Salvador, more people have Bitcoin wallets than traditional bank accounts. It's very important to understand. 1.9 million people have a traditional bank account, but 3.8, now over 4 million, it's reported, have the Chivo wallet, which is that Bitcoin wallet. So ultimately, what we are watching is we are watching the adoption of Bitcoin across many different verticals, from individuals to organizations to nation states. And this is just...
And of course, what we have to keep in mind here is that we have, I can't remember if it was in this video or maybe I think it was in the video prior, where we're looking at, of course, Arizona as well, trying to make, or at least we saw some representatives within Arizona trying to at least put forward a bill that would allow Bitcoin to be legal tender in Arizona. Now, whether or not the Constitution permits it is a different story, and I personally cannot see it passing anytime soon, but I think this conversation, dialogue, discussion is always incredibly important and always pushes the needle in a helpful direction.
The start of something that likely will be a decades-long trend. If that decades-long trend plays out, ARK believes, Cathie believes, and Yassine believes that it could reach as high as $28.5 trillion market cap, to be a $1.3 million Bitcoin price by 2030. There's a lot of people who say a lot of crazy numbers, but they got the data, the analysis, and the scrutiny to back up their thought process. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not, but it seems to be a pretty rational view of the world, in my opinion.
And with that said, like I say, nothing in this channel is ever to be financial advice. Always do your own research, but it's definitely an interesting one to take a look at, and I would love to hear your thoughts on everything happening here. Remember, this is the Web3 channel covering everything happening in the Web3 space from crypto, NFT, and metaverse news. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you in the next Web3 video.